latest in tech suit innovation. Frictionless fiber construction. Surface lift technology. ENDO compression cage. Seamless exo shell. Tier Benzo. Battleborn.
Hello and welcome to Deep End Live, the brand new show that's going to bring you all the elite swimming, para-swimming and diving action from across the UK. My name's John Mason. Today is day two of the British National Diving Cup. What a day was yesterday. It was absolutely incredible way to start the weekend, and this show brought you all the action. We not only give you all the sporting action from the pool, but we also take you up close and personal to all your favorite athletes, have a whole lot of fun, play some games and get to know them just a little bit better. That is the aim. And we do it right here in our brand new studio. Looks awesome, doesn't it? Love it. Look, we got games to be had. We've got Twitter, we've got cameras, we've got Polaroids, and up here, this, I need to bring you over here. Come and have a look at this. This is a very important board for you guys. So up here, we've got the best of British, okay? So these are all of our winners up here who have won gold medals, who have taken the titles. So we've got men's 1 meter, Ross Haslam. We've got Kat Torrance there, the women's 1 meter. You've got Chris and I, of course, because we are part of the best of British. You've got Eden and Lois and Jack and Dan up there as well. So lots more names to be added to that as we progress through today's competition. Down here, this is my favorite bit. This is our duck challenge, okay? So every one of our guests that's coming in here, we're having a little game with them. There's a leaderboard happening. Grace Reed, currently way out in front on 34. Me, terribly, did so bad, 27. So we'll see how they go. But loads of action, of course, happening in the pool as well, not just the fun and frivolities that we're going to be happening here. So let's take a look at the weekend schedule and see how we stand as we head into tonight's action. So at 3:30, we've got the men's 3 meter final. That's going to be our first final up. We then have the women's 10 meter final at 4:30. At 5:45, the men's 10 meter synchro, and at 6:45, the women's 3 meter synchro, all happening tonight. Over there in that first block, of course, they are our champions from yesterday's competition. So we're going to see 4 more pictures up there at the end of today. And of course, tomorrow, don't forget, is our final day of action. We have the women's 3 meter final, finishing with the men's 10 meter final. So loads to look forward to. Now, I'm in the studio being joined by our first guest for day 2. Little legend, he's a rising star here at British Diving. It's Matthew Dixon. Matthew, thanks for coming down to Deep End Live.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, mate. Now, look, you've had a massive year last year, of course. Gold Coast, Europeans, British champion here. Talk us through a little bit, sum up some of your highlights for us.
Yeah, last year was amazing for me, obviously getting British champion last year, so that was a big step up for me. and then 2 silver medals at the Commonwealth Games, and then bring it home with a silver medal at the Europeans.
Yeah. I mean, at such a young age, going onto a stage like that and achieving such sort of success, how did you handle like pressure going into a competition like that? How did you get your head in the game and sort of come away from competing with the big boys with medals?
Well, I've been competing for a long time now, and I've been around for quite a while competing against the big guns, so I think I stick to my routine a lot, so I like to listen to music during my dives.
Do you?
So a bit of anything, to be honest, but to get me ready for big dive, like pumped up music, get me raring to go. But
really?
Yeah, nice to stick to my routine.
Get your head in the game. Yeah. I know, mate, you've had a great year. Let's talk about this competition. We head into this sort of weekend. How are you feeling as we sort of move through it? You got a big one tomorrow, a big competition. So how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I've not had the best preparation with a slight of a back injury, but I am feeling prepared for this event, and I'm looking forward to it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I know Chris sort of says quite often divers come into these meets and they do have injuries, and working through that is just something that you kind of got to get used to, right, with this sport?
Yeah, you've got to work through it. We've got like the best physios here getting us through it. So I've been working with one of the female physios, which have been really good for me, and she's getting me back to full fitness. Oh,
I love that. I love that. He's back in fighting form. You'll be ready for tomorrow. Now, before we play this duck game, we've had lots of people. We put it out on our social media earlier asking if anyone had questions for Matthew. So, a couple of questions from people at home, dudes. It says, how do you balance training, school, social life, etc.? That's from Ella. How do you find balance in competing in this sport?
It is hard to find balance because you don't get much of a social life, but you do try your hardest on the weekends to go out and see them. And with school, training twice a day is really hard, but you just got to try your hardest to catch up on all your work.
Yeah, you just got to work extra hard, right?
Yeah, working extra hard.
Keeping him busy, I love that. We've got a question here from Jeffries. Jeffrey says, Matt, do you feel any extra pressure when you're competing in a pool, your own pool, when it's a competition?
There's obviously that added pressure in your own pool, but then you've also got your home crowd, so you got a lot more people cheering for you, and I honestly can't wait for it tomorrow.
Oh, we're super pumped to see you in the water, mate. I know you're going to be absolutely brilliant. Look, a couple of questions from home. Now, I know you've got your competition happening in the pool, but we're having our own here. We call it our duck challenge, all right? I know you've seen some of the boys do this as well as Grace. So basically, if you're watching at home and you haven't seen this, we're going to get you, Matt, let me clear this off, all right? The pressure's going to be on now.
Okay.
More so for this than the 10 meter. So what we're going to get you to do, I'm going to put 20 seconds on the clock, okay? You have to move as many of these ducks as you can into this one here, using only your thumb and forefinger. How do you reckon you're going to do?
To be honest, I don't think I'm going to do very well, but I'm going to give it my best shot.
You're going to be brilliant. Grace Reed's way out in front, 34. That is what we're trying to beat, okay? Yep. 34. All right, so come on over, get yourself comfy. Are you ready? Your time starts now. Come on, Matt, you're doing well. Keep focused, keep focused. 2 fingers, that's it. Thumb and forefinger.
Oh, no.
You got it. Come on, our crew's cheering you on. Someone's got to take that top spot. All right, come on, 5 seconds to go. You got to keep moving, Matty. 3, 2, 1, stop. How do you reckon you did?
Not very well.
Not very well? I reckon you did all right. Let's find out. All right, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. You know what? He's tied with me, 27.
At least I'm...
At least you're not at the bottom, mate. Congratulations. Yeah. High pressure situation there, right?
Yeah, it is.
Look, I'm going to get you to write your score on here, and you know what? I'm going to be kind because I'm good like this, and we're going to put you above me on that list.
Okay.
So you won't officially appear to be on that bottom. I love it. There you go. Right, for those of you at home who are tuning in and haven't managed to catch up with it, we've got some big divers in this competition, and Chris caught up with one of them before. He's going to be in the next final. It's Ross Haslam, so let's take a look.
So I'm here with Ross Haslam. We're at the National Diving Cup. how are you feeling about going into the event? I know you're doing the 1 and 3, and I guess you're doing synchro too, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So, do you feel prepared?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very different off-season this year compared to normal, so I've added a bit of DD into my list. So it's not just been, training dive after dive after dive. It's
Learning
been,
new-
learning new things,
Awesome.
doing a lot of lead-ups and then taking that up. So it'll be a different nationals, but hopefully still good.
What dives are in and what's out?
So for 3 metre, I'm going to put in the front 4.5, hopefully for the final. I'm just going to stick with the front 3.5 pike for the prelim.
Yeah.
Just put in a nice performance in the morning, hopefully, and then get through to the afternoon. And then I'm also putting in inward 3.5 tuck instead of inward 2.5 pike, and
Awesome.
also adding reverse.
I wanted you to do that for a while.
Thanks.
I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I
I'm
hope
excited
so.
for that. Yeah. How have they been going in training?
Good. It took a while to get them moving, but I think now that I've got them moving, they're doing all right. So hopefully, as long as I can get my eye on the end, I should be all right.
Awesome. What about the 1 metre then?
So, well, I've been playing around with my list a lot, but mainly focus has gone into 3 metre. So I've been looking at putting a triple twister in, which adds a bit of DD rather than a front 2.5 pike. But I think I'm just going to stick with the front 2.5 pike for now, and then hopefully nationals later on in the year.
Okay.
Add a bit more
Then bang
DD
out
in.
there.
Yeah.
Synchro with your brother. Tell us about that. Is that annoying or is it cool? Like, how does that go down?
No, it's all right.
It's all right.
It's quite,
He's standing just here, so he's got to be really diplomatic right now.
No, it's good. I think it's a very highly pressured event all the time because we really want to do well for each other.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
Rather than, I mean, obviously when it's your friend, you still want to do well. But I think it's just that little added thing, like for the family, for everything like that. It's nice. But yeah, it's all right. And also we can talk straight to each other. So if something's not working, just say, look, Jack, what's
This
happening
isn't
here?
working.
Yeah, rather than trying to
beating around the bush.
Yeah.
All right. Well, best of luck for nationals, and good luck to you.
So there you have it, Ross Haslam, super talented diver. He's going to be diving on the springboard. I can't wait to see him. But it's not just him. Of course, we've got lots of talented athletes in this competition. And joining us in the studio, not just Matthew, we've got Chris Mears, our man in the know. They're going to talk us through some of the ones to watch. Obviously, one we need to talk about, Jack Law.
Jack, this morning didn't have the best day out, but some of the dives that he performed were incredible, and the height that he gets off the board is second to none, and that's not just here in the pool, but in the world.
Yeah.
Some of the way that he finesses some of his dives and enters the water so clean. I'm really hoping we're seeing some really big scores here from the judges this evening.
Oh, I've got my fingers crossed for it. Oh, we've got some big guys, some big talented athletes, so I'm sure we're going to see some of them. Another one we need to talk about, James Heatley.
Yeah, James Heatley, he's doing amazing so far. He's done well in the 1 metre and he's doing well in the 3 metre. He did a good prelim and he's got some new dives in there. He's got a forward 4.5 and a reverse 3.5, which are new dives for him, and he's looking good with them.
Yeah. I mean, I watched him a little bit in training and he was in top form, so I'm hoping, it's got to happen on the day, it's got to happen on the board, and we'll see what happens in this one, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Dan, good fellow. A lot of eyes on him as he comes into this competition. How was he in the prelims?
Well, let's go back to the synchro. I think he was a bit wobbly in the synchro. He's not got a lot of experience on the 3 metre board. Obviously, he is decorated as an Olympic medalist, so we can't forget that. He's got a lot of experience. But on the 3 metre, I think this is a good test for him. And I know that he's got a little bit of a battle there with Ross Haslam, because there's a discrepancy in the place and who's going to get selected, and that second spot is up for grabs, and I know that they're both very hungry for that, so we'll see how that fight pans out.
So we're going to see a bit of a battle there, you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Makes for an interesting competition though, we love that. We've also got to talk about Ross's brother, Jack, great diver, last year's British champion. How is he looking coming into this one?
Yeah, he's looking really good. He's obviously going to be fighting for the top 4. Obviously, there's amazing divers here, and they're all going to be fighting for it. But he is looking good, and can't wait to see him.
Yeah, and I know in this one
Jack's carrying some injuries as well, but he's really confident going into it, and he's good under pressure, so we'll see.
Yeah. We've got a couple of guests in as well. The 2 Spanish divers this morning had a great prelims, didn't we? So we'll see how those boys do as well. Of course, attracting internationals to our British National Diving Cup. So loads to look forward to, right? Yeah? Fun for it? We love it. Now, I do believe, Chris, I've got to send you up to commentary, and we're going to be going up to Bob in a second. Matthew, good luck with the competition tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. It's over to the action. We'll see you in a bit.
Thank you, gentlemen. and welcome to the commentary area as we prepare, and I prepare, and in a few moments' time, Chris will be preparing with me for the final of the men's 3-meter. We are eagerly anticipating this because all kinds of things, if you didn't see the prelims this morning, all kinds of things happened. There was basically a drop dive from Jack Law. There were 2 drop dives from Dan Goodfellow, and things did change quite a bit. The only thing that didn't really change is that Jack Law was out in front, opened up such a big lead early on. And he was a few points ahead at one stage of his main competitors. And then all of a sudden the chasm opened up yet again when he put a couple of very big dives in the 80 range. But there was one dive, and we'll talk about when Chris joins me, that didn't quite go to plan. There were 2 back-to-back dives that Dan Goodfellow had a problem with in the prelims this morning. So we'll highlight those as well. And where's the challenge going to come from for Jack Law? Well, it could come from the Spaniard. Of course, the Spanish can't win this, but Nicolas Boissier had a really good morning. He's the 3rd best qualifier, and Adrian Garcia of Spain, the 4th best qualifier. And then we have to look down to Ross Haslam, who had a really interesting morning, to put it mildly. Didn't get anything really right in the first 2 dives, and dive 3 onwards looked more like his true self. So we'll see whether Ross could come out of the blocks. Oliver Crompton, former teammate of Chris's, has made it. He'll be diver number 5. Dan Goodfellow will be going 4. So the lead divers back-to-back in 4 and 5. Jack Haslam, number 3. Tyler Humphries has made it through for Dive London, and a very good diving process from Anthony Harding this morning, who had a poor time on the 1-meter board yesterday, but got everything together on the 3 today. So he'll finish with the forward 4.5. So I'm looking through the program. Who's doing the forward 4.5? Anthony Harding's doing it. Dan Goodfellow will be mirroring Jack Law's program, so he'll be doing the forward 4.5 in the 5th of the dive list. Who else is doing the forward 4.5? It's not too many of them, to be honest. And obviously James Heatley is doing it in round number 4. Chris now joined me, and we were just musing, or I was musing with the viewers about some interesting dives. You kind of alluded to it when you were talking with John downstairs about Dan Goodfellow. Back-to-back, pretty much drop dives this morning, which he will have learned a great deal from.
Massively drop dives from Dan in the prelim. At least there's somewhere to improve for the final. That's all I can say. It's okay to have a shaky prelim, you know, but when you get onto the world stage, you can't be making these mistakes. So, you know, in a way, learn from them here, and you get away with it. And then when you get onto that world stage, hopefully learn from the mistakes and don't make them again at that level.
Another person who had a very slow start was Ross Haslam. I mean, again, the first 2 dives were very un-Ross-like, I thought, this morning.
Yeah, I mean, very un-Ross-like, especially the form that he carried in the 1 meter just looked like he was so on point. And then to go ahead in the 3 meter with all of them kind of car crashy dives, you know, he's so strong. I think he's going to do a lot better in the final. I know that also him and Dan are up for a big hit out, because there is something to do with the qualification for a World Series spot, I think.
For London?
I think that Dan has to beat Ross twice to get a World Series spot. So there's that to watch out for too.
Well, look at that dynamic as well. And you will be absolutely thrilled to see this man up on the board for the final. For the travails of the 1 meter behind him, and looks much better on the 3 today. Anthony Harding will start with a reverse 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists.
Amazing start there from Anthony. Left it tiny bit short, but the takeoff was brilliant. Into the twist. Nice pike shape, great form. Just real shame about that entry there. If he'd have finished that off, that would have been almost above 80 points.
Well, 7s will do okay. 7.5 in the mix as well. Anthony Harding off to a good start. And we were impressed with Tyler Humphries this morning as well. In fact, pretty much impressed with all those who made it through and maybe weren't anticipated to make it through. 15-year-old from Dive London. His program falls away a little bit towards the end in terms of tower. In fact, doesn't go above 3.1, but he'll start with a forward 2.5 somersaults with 1 twist.
Now, I spoke to Tyler in that little break that we had when they had their training and their warm-up, and he was looking really good, a little bit nervous, and I just said to him, amazing job for the prelim. what do you want to achieve from the final? And he said, I just want to go out there and enjoy it. And he nailed that dive. Looks like he's having fun. Good for him.
Yeah, a couple of 8s in there. Gives him 70.5. So not as big as Anthony Harding, but the degree of difficulty wasn't as big, but very close marks-wise. 70.95, 70.50. Now, Jack Haslam got off to a really good start today. Let's see what he can do with the forward 3.5 in the final.
Jack Haslam not quite there. Really short on the end of the board. You can see there. Lovely pike shape, as always. Comes out early, anticipates the dive. Doesn't quite squeeze the whole 3.5 somersaults in. That's not a good start from him on a low tariff dive too.
No, he got 68 on that this morning. 49 in the final, so he's already lost 19 points. As I mentioned, Dan Goodfellow goes with every single dive in the same order as Jack Law. Forward 2.5, 2 twists to start off with for the City of Leeds.
I think Dan looked a little bit nervous there in his hurdle serve. You can see on the replay his approach. His knee down wasn't sharp, which meant that he didn't get the best hurdle. He left the dive short, but I think he's probably feeling a little bit nervous after his prelim. He just wants to get one dive under his belt, and then maybe later, when he's got the higher tariff dives, he's going to let the big guns out. We'll see.
Bit of a lead takeover here. Oliver Crompton, we've already had Anthony Harding. We'll obviously have Jack Law at the end. Oliver Crompton's made it as well. So it's not like the Olympics where you're going to have 2 per team. 4 we have here for Leeds. And inward 2.5 for Ollie Crompton, who's got 3.0s for the most part, apart from a big dive in 5.
That's a great start from Ollie. Again, was really impressed with him in the prelim. Did some really nice dives and just generally was really consistent, which is what when you're going through a 3 meter list and it's consistent, it just feels so good afterwards because you know you didn't do anything amazing, but you were just steady throughout. It's a good place to be leading into the final.
Now I mentioned the slow start that Ross had this morning. 30. I'll just check. That's not him. Yeah, 35. It was 35.7 opening dive this morning. I had to double check that because it looked too low. But yeah, 35.7 on this morning. He will hope to, I think, double that.
Let's hope. He will be looking for about 80 points. 70s is okay. And that's much better from Ross. Not very convicting on the end. You can see him rolling slightly over, but he is in the 70s, and that is a safe start for him. Someone seems to have marked it down a little bit. Maybe he was a little bit tight to the board. Good dive.
Bit splashy.
Little bit splashy.
71.40 reflects that, but 7s for the most part.
At least it's not 35.
Indeed, we did double it. Almost exactly. We're impressed with the 2 Spaniards who made the final. First of them, Adrian Garcia. Inward 2.5 for him to start with.
That's a really good start there. Nice dive, good balance, bit flat-footed coming out of the board. Really nice entry. And there, the judges are starting to warm up, giving out their mates. It's nice to see. Very good.
Of course. 67.50. Because we had a judge in the chair for the previous event, so maybe I feel a little bit more kind of imbued now with the refereeing and the judging qualifications. So 67.5 for Garcia. Boissier now, inward 2.5.
Yeah, nice steady opener. Didn't look like he put a lot of effort into getting the jump. The pike shape was nice. He came down on the water, got his hands. Not the biggest score, you know, low tariff dive to start off with. Nice to ease him into the competition.
58.5 for Nicolas Boissier. Now, James Heatley with, again, not the greatest of starts this morning. 56.10. He's capable of doing a lot better than that on the inward 3.5 somersaults.
Oh, that's so much better from James Heatley. This morning he absolutely bombed that, and he does the complete opposite here, getting himself 76.5. That's a nice in with 3.5, the best we've seen so far. Good job to James, starting off his competition nicely.
Well, if we wonder where the challenge to Jack Law was going to come from, maybe that's your answer. James Heatley with a good start. He's got a program that can not quite match Jack's, but gets very close to it. 3.8 forward, 4.5 in round 4. Now here comes Jack to start off with. Same dive we saw from Dan Goodfellow, as they all will be in the program. Forward 2.5 with 2 twists.
Jack looking maybe slightly nervous into the hurdle step there. It wasn't the best ride on the board, but Jack can pretty much do this dive with his eyes closed, and he matches that 76.5 of James Heatley.
I hope he doesn't. Do with his eyes closed, that is. Yeah, we don't want him ending up in the middle of the pool. So 76.5 is the opening score for Jack Law. So some pretty good scores in that first round. 70s, 71, 76. So joint leaders, James Heatley and Jack Law after round 1. Here's Anthony Harding with his inward 3.5.
Well, it's important in male diving and female diving to step up from the prelim to the semi-final. Now, Anthony not quite doing that with his inward 3.5 compared to this morning, but it was a good dive, steady 6, 6.5, and he's just going to try and be consistent through this competition and raise above the ranks. If you're consistent, you can stay in the game.
Well, Tyler Humphries has gone off to a good start. Wanted to enjoy it, told Chris earlier on. Just didn't engage himself, involve himself with the great excitement of being part of a very important final. This is for him. Inward 2.5 for the 15-year-old.
Oh, it looked a little bit on the out. He wasn't quite committed there, but still not a drop. 60.777. 6 is a drop. He'll get 7, 7, 6.5, I think, for that. Not a bad dive for Tyler.
No, good enough. It's not quite matching his opening dive, but still decent. Now, Jack Haslam. This is his biggest dive. Comes in round 2. Reverse 1.5, 3.5 twists.
Amazing hurdle step. That was absolute perfection. As he stepped down on the end of the ball, perfectly on the end. Amazing into the twist. Maybe just slightly too strong. A little bit too much throw. And there he was over-rotating, going through the water.
7s for the most part. 73.5 the total mark, remember. Top 2, bottom 2 are discarded. Middle 3 marks are multiplied by degree of difficulty. That's where we arrive at 73.5. Now Dan Goodfellow with an inward 3.5, 3.4. It's as low as he goes in his program.
And that was much better than this morning for Dan. He went completely on his back this morning. He did everything right. He just pike saved too early because he thought he was going to go over, like this morning. And as he went through, he kind of caught the water there on the glute area and threw out quite a lot of splash, unfortunately. But it was a good dive nonetheless.
Yeah, in the 70s, which is fine. That's very good.
He'll be happy to do another consistent dive, and
Indeed.
hopefully, if he gets one after the other, he'll be up there in contention for medals.
He's got 2 big ones, round 4 and 5, 3.9, 3.8. Now Oliver Crompton doesn't go to those dizzy heights. Stays in his comfort zone of 3.0 with a forward 2.5 with 1 twist.
Really good job. He's really found his confidence coming into this event. I've seen him compete at other nationals, and he's not dived with the same confidence as he is today, which is really, really nice to see this morning and this afternoon, carrying it through into this competition. So well done to him.
63 total score. Now Ross is here to play after a less than exciting or indeed engaging first 2 dives this morning. He got underway with a very, very impressive 71.4 on the inward 3.5. He'll go up a notch on DD to 3.5 here. Reverse 1.5 somersaults, 3.5 twists for Ross.
Slightly skipped off the board. Not as good start as his brother, but a better finish than his brother. And he scores higher, I think. I think it's the same, actually.
No, Jack got 73.
Oh, Jack got more.
Yeah. So
There you go.
Ross gets 71.75, but collaboratively, or something like that, Ross Haslam has got 142. Jack is a little bit trailing in that respect. Adrian Garcia of Spain, forward 2.5, 2 twists, he's underway, here he comes.
He seems to have really calmed down that body movement that he had earlier in his diving that I noticed. Looks more in control, less of a passenger in his dives, and that's never a good feeling. Getting himself 7.7, 7.5, that's decent.
Yeah, for the time being moves him into third, but there are some big hitters still to come. And Nicolas Boissier next for Spain, 2 Spanish back-to-back. Reverse 3.5 for Boissier. Ooh.
Oh, yeah, just cutting that height off on the top of the dive. Spin speed wasn't there, and then he kicked down. Nowhere to go with that dive.
Yeah, disappointing for the Spaniard compared to how he did this morning. Quite a bit down on that, 36.75. Right, we have joint leaders from the first round, exactly the same score for James Heatley. Did different dives, did Heatley and Law, but same mark, 76.5. So Heatley's second round, forward 2.5 somersaults with 2 twists. Studied concentration.
Oh no, there's a big twist on entry. I don't suppose any judge is going to miss that. It was really blatantly obvious as he went through the water. Someone has failed the dive.
Whoa.
And he's got half a mark from Judge 7.
Okay, now explain that. Why would that be the case? It looked okay for the most people's eyes, but you spotted it.
Well, he completed the dive, he did the 2 twists, and then as he entered the water, something happened, maybe a shoulder movement, and he was basically facing us, which is then 2.25 twists, not 2 twists in the dive, and that's why he got failed from one judge.
Oh dear, well I did say he might be the main challenger to Jack Law. I think I'll have to reappraise that now because it doesn't look like that will be the case. Here's Jack's reverse 3.5.
Great dive there from Jack. Great height out of the board, as always. Not the best hurdle, but it was a good hurdle nonetheless. 80.5. I've seen him do much better. The finish wasn't quite there, like I know he can do it, but the power was.
Well, all I could say, this is bogey dive from this morning, comes up next.
Yeah, Jack has a lot of tariff in his list, and it will be really exciting to see how he performs some of the dives later on.
Anthony Harding up next for Leeds, so we start round 3. So 70 already banked to 61.2, and third round is a back 2.5 somersaults.
Yeah, Tony just leaving his head on his chest a little bit there in the entry. He could have gone down cleaner, but 67.5 on a low degree of difficulty is nothing bad, nothing to complain about. It's a steady dive, and it will keep him up there in contention, hopefully.
It goes straight to the video wall at the back, which has a slightly delayed replay of all the dives. So by the time they get to the video wall, they're seeing their dive in real time. Tyler Humphries now for Dive London. 70 and a 60 under his belt. Goes to his biggest dive now, which is the forward 3.5. Feet,
Tyler
feet.
didn't enjoy that one, unfortunately. You can see he's diving with passion, and he's really giving it his all, but unfortunately, he gave it too much in the hurdle step. He overcooked and went over the end, and then that threw him forwards. To complete the dive from that, though, fair play to him.
Yeah, to actually manage to get the dive round is quite an achievement from there, but he pretty much lost the dive as soon as he had those toes over the end. And how many times have we said that in the first 2 days? Plenty.
A lot.
Yeah. Jack Haslam got a bit of catch up to do after that poor first round dive, but still time to do it. Inward 3.5 for the older of the Haslam brothers.
It's better from Jack. He didn't give himself quite enough height on the start. The somersault was good. He gave himself the opportunity. Then he ducked his head in. You can see him just cruising the dive over there. unfortunately didn't snap out of it.
Well, our champion from last year is not quite on form this afternoon. 54.40 for Haslam. Now, Dan Goodfellow will show Jack Law maybe how to do this time, though he didn't do it this morning. Reverse 3.5 for one part of that synchro combination.
And that is more like it. Really good start. A little bit bent legs on the hurdle and a little bit kind of tentative going into it. Slight turn on the entry as well, which some judges have marked him down for, but 75.25. That's much better from Dan.
Yeah.
He'll be much more pleased with that.
Good sequence here. 66, 73, 75.
Steady.
Yep. Steady she goes with the 2 big dives yet to come. Now, Oliver Crompton of City of Leeds also will be pretty happy with how he started. 64 and 63 on 3.0 dives. This is also one of those. It's gone inward, it's gone forward, it's going to go back now. 2.5 somersaults to attach to this dive.
Yeah, nice and steady again from Ollie Crompton. Not the best back 2.5 pike he's ever done, but still steady 7s across the board. That's not bad.
Kind of floated in, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He felt like he kind of just cruised it round and just placed it on his head.
Well, if we're looking for a challenger, obviously Dan Goodfellow's won, but Ross Haslam, after 270 pluses, is in a much better place than he was this morning. But this has got to work. Forward 4.5. I didn't even know he had this in his program.
Yeah, I spoke to Ross earlier and he swapped it out, give himself some more tariff. It's a new one for him. It's not a good start, and he saves it on the end.
Got it round, just.
But he was short of vertical, and he wasn't as high as some of these other guys that performed this dive. And he would have probably been better off using the 3.5 pike. It would have got him more points, but you've got to use these dives and get experience on them to be able to nail them in the future.
Yeah, he got 68 on his forward 3.5 this morning. Yeah, forward 3.5 got 68.
Yeah.
Adrian Garcia, Spain, underway with his forward 3.5. I don't think I've ever seen Ross do a forward 4.5. I just would rather take the bet by that.
He's been kind of going at it in training, seeing how it's going, and was kind of going to see how it was going here in training. And yeah, he obviously felt confident on it, but unfortunately he didn't nail it today. That was a nice dive though by the Spaniard. Nice and clean. A little bit of body movement again in the hurdle, but all in all, it was a good dive.
Well, he's been Mr. Consistency so far, hasn't he? 67, 71, 68. He's right up there. There's the other Spaniard, Nicolas Boissier.
That was really nice. That was a really nice dive there from Nicolas. Nice twist, great leg form, nice repike. Didn't quite get the rip entry on the end. Maybe missed his hands a little bit splashy. Good dive though.
68.25, very, very agreeable from the aesthetic point of view, and indeed from his point of view. Now, what does James Heatley do now? Because that was a big knock he took in round 2 to only get 22 points and virtually a drop dive. He's got a big dive to come in round 4, but got to get back on the horse with a back 2.5 somersaults.
Oh, he did come back. He left it slightly short, but I really liked the aggression on the start. He came out nice and early, gave himself the opportunity to sink that down for 9s. If he'd just reached back a little bit more, I think that could have been doable, 8, 8.5 region. Well done to him, but it's just not enough. It's a real test for him to come back in this competition after such a big knock.
All right, what are we expecting from Jack here? 23.8 he got this morning on this dive, which is very un-Jack Law-like.
It is indeed, and he does struggle sometimes with this dive in his training, knowing obviously Jack from training alongside him and competing for many years. I'm sure he can improve on this morning. And he goes over again. He's going to be very angry. I'm just hoping he can just control that anger, because he knows he is in some ways, you know, leaps and bounds above some of these guys in strength and in experience too. 4.5.
It's put him in 5th place.
Put him in 5th place, but he's not going to worry about that, I hope. He's just going to keep his head down and not dwell on that too much.
So here's the standings. Dan Goodfellow leads the way. Adrian Garcia, Spain in 2nd. Anthony Hardy in 3rd place. Ross Haslam in 4th. Jack in 5th, but he's got big tariff dives to come. Crompton, Haslam, the other one. And Heatley and Tyler Humphries at the bottom, but 5th place for Jack at the halfway stage.
Yeah, that's what can happen in diving, you know, lose your focus a little bit. I'm wondering in training whether he's been struggling with the in with 3.5, as both times now in the prelim and the final, he's taken a bit of a hit on the score.
Right, into the second half of the event, reverse 3.5 for Anthony Harding.
And that is much better from Anthony there. Great dive, look at that entry. 1, 2, 3, bang, the hands come out, slight leg split. 80.5, he's going to be pleased with that.
Boy.
And that throws him up the list.
If he'd had his legs together,
that would have gone big.
9s, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's what he's capable of.
80.50. Well, he was right up there anyway. 280s on now. Tyler Humphries for Dive London. Just that 3rd round knocked him back a bit after 2 good dives. This one is the back 2.5 somersaults.
Yeah, Tyler just, I think, let his eye off the ball here a little bit. Great spin speed, and then he just kind of arches his back a little bit too much, drops his legs. I think maybe he thinks he's going over when he's actually completely dead upright. It was a good dive, it was a good effort, but not quite executing that.
No, not quite. 46.50. Well, Ross is going well. Jack, not quite so well at the moment. The Haslam boys. Back 2.5 somersaults. Here's 2 big dives. Well, it's 2 more big dives for Jack to come at the back end, but this is as low as he goes in his program, 3.0.
And that is absolutely superb. The way that he does that dive is absolutely awesome. He comes out so early, you think he's going to land flat on his back. He pulls it round with control, and he smashes it down. Great dive from Jack.
I'm trying to remember if we had a 9 on the first 2 days. I don't think we've had a 9 yet, have we?
I don't think so, no. I think I'd remember the 9, and I can't remember having a 9 yet.
Well, maybe this will be the time for Dan Goodfellow to get it. Huge dive. Only 2 people are doing it. Highest tariff in the competition, 3.9. Forward 2.5 with a triple twist. Just short.
I've got a lot of experience on this dive, and I have done the dive where you just can't get it moving there, and you can see Dan struggling a little bit to get it moving, but pulls it round and pulls it out of the bag, gets the repike in and does all the right things. Unfortunately, just landing slightly short of vertical, but it doesn't matter too much because the degree of difficulty is so high that it still gives him a score of about 70, so he's all good.
Yeah, and Jack Law will do that at the back end of this round to see if he can pull up the points he needs to get him in the top 3 again. Oliver Crompton, 6th place at the moment, going well. So consistent, 64, 63, 63. Reverse 2.5, which is the 3.0 tariff for this one.
I am super
That's
impressed
70
with
plus,
this kid.
surely, isn't it?
Super impressed with him. Look at the way he's composing himself on the board. Does the reverse 2.5 somersaults. And he's been marked down a little bit, I think, in my opinion. But I might have missed something because I am up here and I don't have, I'm not in the eye line of the judges' seats. But I did think that was definitely in the 60s.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be too displeased with it. It's not a drop, just slightly down.
Ross Haslam, just outside the top 3, but very, very tight at the top as we saw. So this needs to count after not quite fulfilling the promise on the 3.8.
Ross looks hungry. Ross looks hungry indeed. Look at that power that he really gets that moving. He kicks out early, just like his brother, and executes the entry, I think, just a tad better than Jack did.
Well, he will be thinking over why he did what he did in round 3 in terms of changing his dive, because he got a 71, a 71, a 72 in the other 3 rounds. And had he got high 70s as he could have got on the other dive, he'd be probably leading at this stage.
But as I said, you know, you've got to make changes to your list and get these big dives
Is
under
it right
your
to do it on
belt.
the same day, though?
I think so. I think it's definitely the right decision for him because he's not going to be eligible for selection really without the 4.5 because you're just not competitive without it. Even though you might get you a higher score at the time, you've got to put yourself out there to get more points.
Adrian Garcia with his back 2.5 at 61.5. Right, we're into the, well, 2 of the top 3 anyway, potentially, because Nicolas Boissier was there or thereabouts. Of course, he didn't do very well in round 2, which put him rather behind the 8 ball. But he's got 3.4 to come. This one, though, 3.0 back. 2.5 somersaults for the Spaniard.
A little bit choppy there on the takeoff, kind of threw his shoulders back and leant back at the same time, but he did it with control and he placed it right on his head. He did what he needed to do there.
61.5 for Boissier. Well, if you have just joined us, James Heatley started like a train. Third round was all right. Second round was abysmal. Almost a completely failed dive. Got 22 from it, but he lost about 40 or 50 points, which has put him in a position where he can't really, you'd think, realistically challenge, but he has got this. Forward 4.5. If he nails it, it's worth 3 figures.
It's a bad takeoff from James. I'm really impressed he's pulled that out of the bag, off of that takeoff, and almost a dive down from that big hit that he took in the second round, was it?
Yeah, that was 22.10, but that's 89.30.
Great
very
dive
different.
there.
Yeah.
Almost 90 points on that 4.5. Really nice dive.
Okay, Jack, did Dan get on this? He got 72.15. Jack this morning on this dive got 70. Much better. A bit splashy.
Little bit rolled in and the splash being thrown up there, but the power again was insane. The twist was lovely and the form was nice, but he's not going to be pleased with 70 points.
Got exactly the same mark as this morning.
Not going to be pleased with 70 points. He's got to improve his game in the next 3 rounds.
Still 5th. Still 5th going into round 5.
Next 2 rounds.
6 ahead of Anthony Harding, who is 10 ahead of Ross Haslam, who is 2 ahead of Adrian Garcia. So back round we come. For round 5, Anthony Harding, forward 3.5.
That was a really nice dive from Anthony. Really steady. He does this dive with ease. The pike shape's lovely. The way he goes through the water is really nice. He's a little bit forward from the board, but he's not going to worry about that. That's a good score.
Very good indeed. 68.2. He hasn't come close to dropping a dive yet.
I've just done some quick maths. Jack Law, 268 after 4 rounds. I've seen Jack on 268 after 3 rounds before. So just to put that into some perspective for people watching at home.
Tyler Humphries reverse 2.5 now. Great height.
Really nice dive there. Just slightly short, but he did the right thing. He pulled it round. He got his entry, but he is going to be marked down for landing slightly on his back.
Yeah, 3 5.5s for Tyler after a great takeoff. Well, Jack Haslam could get rid of dive 1, maybe dive 3. 2 and 4 have been very good so far. Reverse 3.5, worth 3.5. His equal biggest dive here.
That's not what he wanted. He skipped off the board. He didn't get a good hurdle step there. He didn't ride the board well either. And then you can see his hand almost on his kneecaps in his tuck shape, which means you just can't pull in. And then I think he just wanted to get out of the dive as soon as possible because it was not pleasurable.
Well, look on his face tells you everything, doesn't it? 38.5, not where you need to be on that. And he slips further down the pecking order. Here's our leader. And here's another of those forward 4.5s again. Keep saying it. It's worth 100 points plus if he nails it.
And that is a great dive from Dan. Really good height. I could tell from the hurdle step he looked confident on it. It was a nice distance from the end. Gets himself 85.5. Not quite as much as James Heatley, but he puts it on his head with a rip entry, just slightly short.
Well, as we know, he and Jack have got exactly the same dive list in that order. So every time he might have opened the door a bit for Jack, he closes it again. It could be very hard for him to get back from here. Because even if Jack does that well, he's going to get 90, 95 maybe.
Jack's in a bit of a bad place at the moment, really.
As we say, landing a bit of a 2 and 8, mate.
We'll see how he gets himself out of it.
Forward 2.5, 2 twists for Oliver Crompton, who's 8th place at the moment from Leeds.
I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with Ollie. He's putting this amazing list together. I just can't believe it. He's just diving with such consistency. He's stood up there. Looks like he's enjoying the competition. He's taking it all in. And he's getting a great performance out of it as well.
Is that what you're going to say to him later? I don't believe you did that.
Might
Thanks,
give him
mate.
a little bit more confidence.
That's very kind.
In person.
Now, Ross Haslam, again. Do you know, it'd be very interesting to talk to him later and talk to his coach again about the third round selection, but he's going for a reverse 3.5 here. The rest of the program is the same as this morning.
That is
I was
not
about to say, I
what
thought he
Ross wanted
corrected it well, but he didn't, did he?
Oh, no, he really slammed down on the end of the board. He was over the end. He got into a nice tuck shape, but it wasn't spinning. He lifted his head up, and that made him feel like he was in the right place. He wasn't, and he lands on his back, and that does not help his cause.
Well, I think we can safely now probably rule him out of a top 3 place. It's very, very hard for him to get there. Especially with the Spaniards diving pretty well this afternoon, including this man, Adrian Garcia. Reverse 2.5.
Well, that's definitely the best board technique I've seen from him over the past 2 days. Really nice hurdle step. Looks much more fluid than this morning. This morning looked like he was trying to attack the dives. Now he looks like he's working with it in a fluid kind of way. Gets a really nice score out of that reverse 2.5 piked.
67.50 for the first of the Spaniards. Second of which up next is Nicolas Boissier. Forward 2.5, 2 twists. Sounds quite complicated. Only worth 3.4 though in degree of difficulty. Ooh, he pulled it round. How did he do that?
Well, he flapped his arms in his hurdle like a bird. He goes up in the air. He's right on the end of the board. I think he probably could have avoided that arm flap, to be honest. But he obviously felt like it was necessary.
Judges aren't quite sure how to mark that.
I think they're probably in a little bit of confusion. How much do we mark him down for doing a bird impression before he took off the board?
He got it in, and he got it in vertically as well.
And it was dead upright, and the rest of the dive was extremely neat. It was just his hurdle step, and they have marked him down quite harshly.
They've caned him on that. Yeah, I think, well, I don't know. Yeah, his takeoff was not great, but the component parts thereafter were fine. So,
yeah.
Yeah, talking of divers who will look back over a dive and wish they hadn't done it. Round 2 for James Heatley is forward 2.5 with 2 twists. Had 2.5 twists. Reverse 3.5 though. Penultimate dive for the Scotsman.
Ooh. Oh, he did his best. He did his best in what he gave himself. He was short off the end. He skipped into the tuck shape because he was flattening his feet in the tuck shape to try and get in tighter because he just knew that is not enough for what he needs, for the amount of somersaults that he's got to go round. Oh, he didn't quite squeeze it in, unfortunately.
So many divers here are going to end up with lower scores than they had this morning, including
Which
probably
is difficult
Jack.
because this morning there were some low scores. But, you know, sometimes the pressure just gets to you, and it's kind of contagious when you see other people messing up around you as well.
Well, let's see what Jack can do on his forward 4.5. Really want him to nail this.
This is not Jack's day. I have not seen Jack make this many mistakes in a competition for a long time, probably from when he was back probably 17, 18 years old. That's a real drop again for Jack, but it seems like he's really let that in with 3.5 maybe get to his head. He's so strong, in his dives, and he's so comfortable normally. I think he needs to find some fire somewhere to get him through out of this headspace into a place where he can really be challenging himself a bit more for the score that he's more used to getting.
Well, I don't need to be Nostradamus to say I don't think he's going to win this. Because
I think it's impossible now
for him
to win.
All
unless
depends if Dan drops his final dive. That's the only way he's going to do it, because there is 47 points between them. Anthony Harding's last dive, it's his big one. It's the forward, 4.5. Oh, yes! Oh, yes!
Oh,
I
Tony.
like that.
I've wanted him to do that for a while on a 4.5.
he gets the 85.5, still not quite matching James Heatley's 89 points, but really, really nice, tidy 4.5
That's
there
come out
from
of the blue,
Tony.
though, isn't it?
That was pretty spicy.
Whew. Some more sauce on that, please. 85.5. Really good. Really, really good. 89 is what James Heatley got. Now Tyler Humphries to finish. Reverse 1.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists.
What a
Good
great
finish.
way to finish that event for Tyler. Really, really nice dive. Look at the way he picks up on his twist. That's really, really good technique. Squares it off, arms teed, and he gets 8s from the judges. 68.15. Low tariff, but really well executed. He'll be pleased to finish in that way.
Yep, 68.15, 3.27 for his final score. Well, hasn't been the Haslam boys' day. Either Ross or Jack. All Jack can kind of do is try and finish with a flourish. 3.4, forward 2.5 with 2 twists. Oh, he tacked that board, didn't he?
Oh, it looked like I'm going to watch the replay. It looked like he almost slipped one of his feet off the end. I don't think he did, actually. I think he just carried himself forwards, and then he split his legs, flicking out of the dive, which is really disorientating for your entry, and then he just buried his head and dropped it over.
Right, well, we don't want to put the garland around his neck yet, but it's almost there.
It's his for the taking.
3.6, back 3.5, but we know this is a really tricky dive. Obviously, a lot of people failed this today, or not get it done particularly well. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but he could almost come up with a 40 here and probably win.
He probably could. It's a difficult dive, but it's one of his favourites. And it's really nice. There's no catching him now. It wasn't the best he can do it. He drops it a little bit short and a little bit twisted on the end, but 73.8 under the pressure. Considering that, I think that's a really good effort.
4.46.10 for Dan. Means he's taken it by 13 from Anthony Harding. There's a real rush for the tape at the end, but nobody can catch him now, I don't think. I think it's mathematically impossible.
And 4.46 is a respectable score for Dan here. That's really, really nice. That puts him in good stead.
Remember, this is a 10-metre diver we're talking about as well, making the adaptation. Oliver Crompton, final one. He's had a good sequence as well. 3.1, forward 3.5, finish it off. Yes, he does.
Very nice, Ollie. Again, very impressed with his diving here this weekend. Really steady, goes through pretty much over 60 on every dive, apart from that reverse 2.5 pike where he got 58. So steady, and 380 for him, almost 400. That, for young divers, is a benchmark, the 400 mark. Once you get over that, and then you can start to get used to going over 400 and push for 500. So that's really good to see him do.
Well, Ross Haslam's not going to reach 400 today, even if he gets this right on point and lands on his head. Forward 2.5, 2 twists to finish off. He's had 140, 155. Of course, that forward 4.5, which was a gamble, which didn't quite work out for him. 2 great dives to start. It's a ridiculous sport, this, isn't it? This morning, first 2 dives terrible. This afternoon, first 2 dives great.
It's all just so unpredictable with diving. Sometimes, you know, you can have the best training session of your life in the training leading up to the competition. You can get to the competition and just something just isn't clicking under competition environment, And some days I've had the worst training of my life, and I've literally, out of nowhere, out of the blue, nailed every single one of my dives, all 6. Full house, and you have no idea why it happened. Sometimes it comes together, and sometimes it just falls apart.
Well, as we've said on numerous occasions, finish off in style. Have the thing you remember from your program, your last dive, which you'll try and do on a forward 2.5 somersaults with 2 twists. Ross Haslam to finish.
It's a good finish for Ross. He was a little bit twisted coming into the end, but to be honest, that must have been quite frustrating for him, knowing that he can't catch the top 3.
Well, he's got a 388.
He can,
so
maybe he is in
well,
third
you've got
place.
Spaniards to come yet.
You've got
So
the Spaniards to come, but obviously they are guests, so...
well,
the
also
British
2.9,
medals.
so it's a lower tariff for Garcia. He needs 10s to go third, so not going to happen, is it? All over the place on the board.
Board placement wasn't great. He takes off a little bit twisted, all over the place on the twist, and then all came together for the end. Nailed it.
So he moves. Oh, he does move up to third. Does he? Yes, he does.
Yeah, moves up to third. 405 versus 388.
Get a bum steer from our computer there. Nicolas Boissier to finish for Spain. Forward 3.5.
Great dive to finish on for Nicholas. Nice and tight in the pipe, good board rhythm, cutting off his height a little bit. Nice through the water, nice save, slightly splashy.
So that'll probably be 7th probably for the Spaniard. Jack Law still to go. Actually, James Heatley could also overtake him, so... Right, quite a complicated last dive, worth 3.5 for James Heatley. Reverse 1.5 somersaults, 3.5 twists for the Scotsman.
That was a nice dive from Heatley, but not quite coming together on the entry there. Just left it a bit short. The twist was lovely, actually, but he didn't quite set it up enough out of the board. Not enough jump. And that just left him short. Now, Jack has the back 3.5. I will be impressed if he gets over 4.05 from where he is, which obviously doesn't quite, or it could get him third place.
Winning score at the moment. It will be the winning score for Dan Goodfellow, 4.46. Anthony Harding with a 4.33. Jack's not going to catch him. No,
now
not
it looks
today.
like Jack has just it's not come together for him in this final for some reason. I'm sure, you know, he'll go back to the drawing board. You know, everyone's allowed a bad day. At the end of the day, everyone is allowed a bad day. He's a world leader in diving, so from that aspect, he's not going to be too worried about this not coming together in that way. I think, to be honest, he's lost his head today. He's got caught up in the fact that he's not been able to hit any of his dives like he normally can in his training. There'll be a reason. He'll get to the bottom of it, and he'll fix it for when he's on the world stage, I'm sure. Back in his comfort zone. He doesn't like competing nationals either, but again, it is a big hit for him.
I'll tell you what's disappointing. That is disappointing, of course, for Jack and for Leeds and indeed for British diving. But the fact there's only 2 Brits who've gone over 400 worries me even more, because, you know, Ross can do it. We know Jack can do it. We know James can do it. We know the other Jack can do it. And only Dan and Anthony. Anthony's a surprise packet there by going 433. Only 2 Brits have gone over 400.
Yeah, it is slightly disappointing. I mean, if I look at the list, I can look at Jack Haslam, James Heatley, obviously Jack Law. Jack can go over 500. Ross Haslam, Anthony Harding, Dan Goodfellow, they should all be over 420. Now, Anthony pulling out a great performance. 4.33 is an amazing score for him. He can still get more, but it's a good benchmark. Dan getting the 4.46. Now, he's not got experience on the 3 meter, but that is, again, that's a good, respectable score for him to get, and there were mistakes in there. You would expect the other boys to be getting around, You're around the 420 mark with the list they've got, but they have put new dives in, and I think that's really shook them today. But, you know, you've got to start somewhere with these new dives. If you don't put them in, you don't give yourself the chance to get over the, say, the 450 mark. And if you're not scoring over 450 on a world stage, you're not in contention. So you've got to put yourself out there.
Well, let's hear from the man who won it by 13 points at the end, 446.10. Our winner, Dan Goodfellow, is now with John.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Goodfellow, congratulations, mate. Second goal of the weekend. How was that for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was a big improvement on the preliminary rounds. I think everyone was really shaky. Obviously, me and Jack are doing a really high tariff list of dives in there. It's the first time I've done my triple out. And in the morning it was good, and this evening it was good. So I think I'm taking a lot of positives from this weekend, from the synchro and the individual. But yeah, I'm really happy with that because it was a steady performance. I didn't necessarily hit anything for a 9, but I didn't really drop a dive.
And at this point in the season, though, that's sort of what you've got to be aiming for, right? You're not at a point where you've been back at it for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, how we look now is not how we're going to look in 7 months' time, when we're going to the World Championship. So this is just about doing the first competition, getting it over and done with, and then this will highlight what we need to work on going forward.
Yeah, and I know we spoke yesterday when you won the synchro about you coming down from the 10 to the 3. This sort of has to feel good, you know, coming down from that and taking the British National Diving Cup.
Yeah, I mean, it's my first individual title on 3 metre, so I think it feels good that it's happened in my first official year in springboard, because I think it highlights that I've made the right choice. And yeah, no, I think everything's going really well, and I think I do still need a lot more experience. That showed in the synchro yesterday. I wasn't exactly as happy as I was with the individual today, but obviously it was still a good performance. But yeah, no, I'm really happy with how springboard's going at the minute.
Mate, it's been brilliant to watch you as well. Like, I've seen you do what you can do on the 10 metre and now down to the 3. It's obviously the start of the season. Looking forward now, obviously you're pairing with Jack, that synchro thing. But in terms of you, in terms of your direction of where you want to be, what are we sort of aiming for? I
think I'm just gonna, keep training alongside Jack in the synchro, because even though when you doing the synchro, you're still training at individual dives. We do exactly the same dives, so it helps. That helps in a synchro pairing. And synchro is my main focus this year, really. But I will try to qualify for as many individual competitions as I can, because I mean it's only an extra 2 dives, so
why not?
So hopefully I'll carry on doing things in the individual as well.
Yeah.
But only time will tell.
Time will tell. And that was you done, obviously now for the weekend. How are you going to celebrate?
So, honestly, I think it's going to be a quiet night in, probably bed by 9 o'clock, I reckon. I'm absolutely shattered.
It sounds good to me, mate. It sounds good to me. Now, I know you've got lots of friends in the squad. You're still in here supporting them all and stuff. We've been seeing you guys on social media and everything. Everyone was down the training camp in Rio all together. What's it like being a part of something like that? You guys all such good friends.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't really know what my life would be without diving. I mean, I think because diving is a smaller sport, the community is so close-knit. I mean, I've known all these boys that have competed here for about 10 years. So, I mean, they're my best friends in, if you know what I mean. So, to compete alongside them at the highest level of your sport is phenomenal. It's something that I'm never going to forget, and I cherish every moment that I get on the board with these boys.
So do you find as well at a competition like this, or if you're at a majors, it's a little bit of wanting to see them do well but not do quite as good as you?
well, you say that, but I mean, I always want everyone to succeed. Like, even during the competition, you see all of us shouting for each other. Like, we all want each other to do well. So yeah, I think that's one of the great things about our sport is there's no hatred. You know what I mean? We all want everyone to succeed.
It's nice to see, and it's really nice to be a part of that as well. Being down here on pool deck and seeing that. Now I know you've got a lot of fans at home, a lot of people supporting you back home. Is there anything you want to say to everyone out there that's been a part of this journey with you before we?
I think just thank you to everyone, family that supported me, and my coach Adam. This is my first competition with him. I've just changed squads to work on the springboard with him, so I think for us to do a solid performance like that, a big shout out to him as well.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing, mate. Look, congratulations once again. You are, again, for the second time, best of British. Let's get your smile on. There we go, we love it. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Goodfellow, of course, still to come. I'll take that off you, mate. Well done. Don't forget to sign that one for me. Can't let him go. Still to come, loads to look forward to, but of course, Chris a couple of days ago caught up with Yona. He's been diving here this weekend, a whole lot of fun. Let's hear what he had to say about the 2019 season.
So I am here with Yona Night Wisdom. So we used to train together, so it's kind of weird now taking a back seat on that role, and obviously saw you training earlier. You're looking strong.
Thank you very much. Smashing it. I've been working hard.
Yeah.
Been working hard.
And also, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is you have moved.
Yeah.
So where are you now?
Massive move. I moved up to Edinburgh.
Cool.
After leaving Leeds after 14 years of being in Leeds.
Yeah.
It's kind of mad. It was a mad change, really big change.
What brought on them changes for you?
It was actually a conversation I had with my old coaches, Edwin and Adi. They had a look at my diving and wanted the best for me, so they suggested maybe looking for a change in environment because, you know, when you're somewhere for a long time, you have to change. And obviously you did that, you moved from Southampton.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think sometimes it can get stale and you need that new burst of inspiration.
Exactly.
So I guess that's good to get.
And
so let's briefly go back to last year.
Yeah.
Commonwealth Games.
Commonwealth Games. Oh, what a competition.
But to represent Jamaica,
It
how
was
is
awesome.
that?
It was awesome to be a part of the team. I love representing Jamaica. The kit is the best kit.
Yeah.
I
It
ever
is
see.
really cool.
It's the best kit,
really
100%. And yeah, it was a good event. I really enjoyed being in Gold Coast. I went out there for a long time. Competition was not as good as I wanted it to be. I finished 4th on 1 meter. I was really close to getting a Commonwealth medal, which I think would have been massive for me. But you know, it wasn't to be this time around. It's just giving me motivation to work harder and move forward.
Obviously, I have been, you know, alongside you for almost your entire journey, and I've seen the struggles that you've been through, you know, with the selection with Teams UB, and then moving away from that and representing Jamaica, which, by the way, we all think is super cool, and I think everyone else thinks is super cool.
Yeah, I think it's super cool as well. That's why I chose Jamaica.
Yeah, but what have you got coming up in this year? What's going on?
This year, it's all about trying to get myself in the best possible position for Olympic qualification, which happens at the World Champs. So we've got 2 Grand Prix coming up in Calgary and Mission Viejo, just outside of LA, which is going to be sweet. I'm very much looking forward to that. And then after that is the run into World Champs, going to be in South Korea.
Awesome. That all sounds great, and I'm definitely going to come to LA and watch. Good luck for the competition.
Thank you very much.
There you have it. Nice little catch up with Yona. He's been great fun the whole weekend. It's been awesome watching him dive as well. But I'm now back in the studio with 2 very, very important ladies. This event, in fact, wouldn't happen without these ladies. We do have Georgie Coulson. She's the event officer for the whole team here. Welcome, Georgie.
Thank you.
And we have Adele Stachkovitz, who is British Swimming Board Director. Very important people. Thanks for coming down and saying hello. You've got a lot to say. Georgie, I'm going to start with you, of course. The event like this, British Swimming launching a very important program, the Volunteers Hub. Why don't you talk us through what that's about?
Yeah, sure. So we launched the Event Volunteer Hub. It's a brand new hub that we launched at the end of last year, the end of 2018. It's basically a place on our website whereby anyone who's interested in coming along to events like this to help out on the team can go on, have a look through the roles, have a look through the events, and basically register their interest.
So what are some of the, you know, if people were interested, what are some of the roles that they can apply for? What are you guys looking at filling?
So there's different levels. There's starter roles, there's team roles, and then there's management roles. So you can really work your way up at events. So the beginner roles are things like medal bearing, kit carrying, runners, that kind of thing, you know, the things that we really need to make the event actually happen. Then you can go into the team roles, there's field of play team, there's front of house, there's more specialised roles, sort of officials and judges, things like that. And then the management roles, we've got a meet director who basically organises the whole event alongside me, and just things like that, really. You can really work your way up in volunteering.
Well, because I don't think people at home, I don't think they really understand quite how many volunteers are required to put on events like this. They really are the hardest working people in the building. Now, in saying that, it's a whole lot of fun. Why should anyone at home get involved with British Swimming and join the team?
I mean, first of all, being able to come along to events like this, to see the big names dive in or swim in a swimming event is just an amazing opportunity. It's a great experience and it's so much fun. So obviously you can see the athletes in action, you see some big names, international events you see really big stars, but also you meet new friends, you meet new people, you go out for dinner together, you have a laugh, and it's just a bit of a break from day-to-day life and day-to-day work. On top of that, on a personal note, if ever you want a career in events or sports, it looks absolutely amazing to say that you've come along to an event and volunteered, especially an event of this level.
And been a part of it. And I know we all work in sports and things like that, and traveling the world at different events, you tend to see some of the same people, which is quite nice. So you run into someone here in Plymouth and then run into someone in Tokyo. You know, I love that. So if someone at home wants to get involved and they do want to come to British Swimming and join us at one of these events, how do they do that?
Yeah, so the volunteer hub is on our website. It's going to be on the homepage after this. So you go on, have a read through everything, have a look at the events, and then there's a big button at the bottom that says register your interest. Fill in a quick form, send it off, and I will be in touch.
And finally, just before I come over to Adele, one last thing. What is the number one reason? What would you say to someone out there who's maybe on the edge? Just push them over, to get involved.
Yeah, just do it. It's amazing. We have such a laugh.
It's true.
We
We
really
do.
do. And there's such a team feel, so just do it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Of course, do get involved if you'd love to. I couldn't recommend it more. Everyone seems to be having a right laugh. Now over to Adele. Thank you so much for coming down, Adele.
Pleasure to be here.
Big news this year. Diving World Series coming back to London. Tell us about it.
It is. Back in 2015, we were last able to host in the London venue, and I am delighted to say, absolutely overjoyed to say, with a lot of support from government partners and all of the people who work closely with the national governing bodies in our British sport team, to be able to host it. So the FINA World Series, which is one of the top diving events annually run, we are coming back to London in May this year. So it's actually a 4-year anniversary. So we're really looking forward to it.
Oh, I love that. It's like an anniversary party. So people at home, they might not know how the Diving World Series sort of works and breaks down. It's super exciting and definitely one you don't want to miss. Tell them a little bit more about that series.
So the first thing to recognise is this is a celebration of some of the best diving talent in the world. This is the world stage on show on an annual tour. It will begin next month, so we're really warming up with events like Plymouth, which is a great introduction to the diving series. And then the athletes will fly out to Japan, then to Beijing, then to Montreal, then to Kazan, with a big warm-up before we bring them back to London, May the 17th to the 19th at the London Aquatic Centre.
And I mean, you mentioned the best divers in the world. Britain certainly has some of them, and this is a great opportunity for them at home if they want to see them, they can get involved and come and check it out, right?
It is. So the general rule is that those competing are medalists at either the World Cups, the World Championships, and even, as we have with our own divers, Olympic medalists. So this is top super talent in the diving world. But the advantage of having a home event is that we can bring some of our emerging young divers into the top level international competition. So it gives home support, as we all know, when we come to an event and we've got a passionate crowd cheering for the athletes. It's a safe environment for them to really feel what it's like to compete at the top of their sport.
Oh, super exciting stuff. And it's really important, as you say, for those young divers to get experience on those international events, prepares them for the big time. Look, thank you so much for coming down and telling us about that. But before we go, don't think you're going to get away from this studio without having to go on the duck game. It wouldn't be fair. Well, can't all be serious, can it? We've got to have a laugh as well. So, Georgie, you're up first, of course.
I'm so nervous right now.
Do you know what?
I'm feeling super competitive.
Everyone that is coming into this studio is saying that because we, of course, have a leaderboard. Grace Reed, currently way out in front on 34. Me, down the bottom here, 27. I was terrible, so I wouldn't beat yourself up too much. Okay, let me get this up here. Got to get prepared and get yourself ready. Get those fingers warmed up. I'm going to give you 20 seconds, okay? You've got to get as many ducks, only using your thumb and forefinger, over into the pink bucket. Georgie, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
You prepped?
I'm prepped.
3, 2, 1, go! Come on, Georgie, you got this. You at least have to be 27. It's a high pressure situation. Our divers are used to this. Unfortunately, the event officer, not so much.
This is not my talent.
Come on, you got 5 seconds to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop! I'm putting it out there. I don't think I'm going to be on the bottom anymore, but we're going to find out. You ready? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, yes! I am no longer on the bottom of the pile. Good effort though, good effort. We encourage participation here at British Swimming. I need 24 written on that for you, but I also need Adele. Let Adele through, she's got to come through. The pressure is on. You're right-handed, okay, so I'll step back. Okay, all right, you ready?
No.
3, 2, 1, go! Come on, Adele. Oh, look at the concentration. She's focused. That's because she's a ex-athlete herself. She knows how to get into the zone. You're halfway there. You are moving. Grace Reed is in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop! Oh, I'm actually shocked. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 33. Almost beat her, almost beat her. Let's get your score up there, and then of course we'll put it up. But thank you so much for coming down, ladies. If you want to get involved, you can do so. Come and volunteer, why not? But before we get into that, we've got our own competition happening here. So I caught up with one of our competitors, Robin Birch, earlier on in the week. So let's take a look and see what she had to say. One of the mainstays here in the senior diving team for British Diving. Robin, good luck for the weekend, I suppose.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So you started out in diving back in the day. You were part of gymnastics, or sports acrobatics.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a bit about the transition there?
Yeah, so I did sports acrobatics from the age of 9, 10. Yeah, and obviously it just kind of got more and more competitive. And then I went to the World Championships in 2010 when I was 16.
Yeah.
And at the time I was kind of doing a bit of gymnastics and diving. I definitely did more gymnastics at the time because they were quite sort of strict on me, you know, keeping up my training and stuff. So diving was like a bit of fun at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, because there's such similar skills, obviously somersaulting and stuff, and I was the little flyer that they would throw up in the air, do all the somersaulting and stuff in sports acro. So yeah, it was quite similar, and obviously being a 10-meter diver, the only thing is you've got to land on your head rather than on your feet.
The changes, everything that's sort of different in that sports acro world, I suppose. So that transition, I'm guessing, was pretty easy for you over into diving.
Yeah.
You competed at like a high level there, and have now come over to diving and have competed at Worlds, Commonwealth, Europeans. What sort of competition ahead for you? How do you sort of work through that when you come into a competition like this weekend or that level? How do you keep a sort of calm head through it?
I think, you know, I feel that the build up to, you know, any kind of competition, if it's sort of fairly good, I feel like, you know, you just have to trust, you know, the process and that you've done enough sort of beforehand. Otherwise, you know, if you feel like, I mean, you know, you get faced with injuries and stuff, and I think that's where, you know, mental strength sort of comes in, and you just have to try and have a good head on your shoulders, just be positive and just kind of, you know, do it on the day, and that's it really. I mean, I am a worrier, so I do worry a lot before competitions, and I do get myself worked up, but I think, you know, at the end of the day, I just try to think of, you just got to do your job and do what you do in training, and it should be fine.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
And your training program, I mean, has it developed and changed over time, sort of as you progress through the ranks?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I used to, originally I'd come from Crystal Palace diving, that's where I first started off, and then I actually came to Plymouth for 4 years. I did university here. And then once the Olympic pool was open, obviously they had started building their Dive London club. I wanted to move back home, back to London, and yes, so obviously different coaches, different styles of work and that. So yeah, I think it's definitely changed. I mean, I've been in London for a couple of years now. So yeah, my diving program, I think also it comes with age as well. The longer I've been diving, the more experience I feel. Just mentally being able to sort of like cope with the pressures and that.
And as one of sort of the more senior divers on, you know, the team, do you sort of take these youngsters under your wings? What's it like seeing these talented young divers that are coming up through British diving?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite good because obviously we've got some, you know, young up and coming divers in London, and, you know, just to sort of be able to sort of train alongside them, if, you know, if they are having sort of problems and stuff, I feel, you know, I try to sort of chip in a little bit and just sort of help them a little bit with maybe some ideas, or, you know, trying to, you know, just give them confidence and stuff, and yeah.
Yeah, well, look, big sister, we love that. Look, good luck for the competition. I know you're going to be brilliant. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
There, that was the lovely Robin Birch. I just adore her. She's competing next. Very experienced diver, isn't she, Chris? She's coming in here to compete. European, Worlds, Commonwealth level. She's competed at it all. Tell us a bit about her. How's she looking?
Yeah, no, like you said, she's competed at all these big events. She's got a lot of experience. She has kind of the same degree of difficulty as most of the ladies on the world circuit. She knows how to execute them well. She works hard in training. let's see what she can do today.
Yeah, can it happen on the day? Good luck to her. Of course, two other very strong competitors coming into this final. We've got Lois. Lois won the medal yesterday.
Yeah, Lois is so strong. You know, she's probably one of the most powerful women in diving, not just British diving, but in the world of diving. She's got a ton of experience, so I'm expecting high hopes for her today.
Big things from Lois, we'll have to wait and see. And her partner, of course, Eden, they won the synchro yesterday, both of them looking in top form. They were looking great. I didn't see her training earlier, but how do you think she's going to do?
Eden's awesome, you know. She's only like 15 years old. She stands next to Lois like she's been stood next to her for years. Lois is young too, but they really have a lot of clout in the diving world. Eden making her debut last year with Lois and looks so comfortable. Individually too, she's great.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting final. We'll have to wait and see what happens. As yesterday was as well with that synchro, you know, it really did come down to that final dive, and I wonder what's going to happen up here on this platform. Now, just before we head over to the 10-meter platform, I must ask you, 3-meter final just happened, some surprises there. It was pretty awesome one to watch.
It was really great, you know. Part of me wanted to enter the event just last minute and just see what happened, you know.
Bit of FOMO.
I'm only joking, but you know, Jack Law, you know, making some mistakes in there just shows that even at the top level of diving, you can make mistakes, and if you do make mistakes here, we've got great divers here that will fill your place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it is early on in the season, and as you said earlier, if you're going to make a mistake, you make it here, not at Worlds, not at the Olympics. Well, that's sort of what you aim to do.
Absolutely.
But it is early on in the season, so this could all change, obviously, as the year progresses, right? We're going to see drastic improvements from a lot of these boys.
Oh, of course it is. You know, this is a benchmark for the year, and you know, like Jack's setting that very low here at the Nationals, but he's really strong. He's going to have a great year.
Oh, I can't wait to see what these guys do. Dan as well, you know, coming down and taking that championship, taking
that was
this
awesome.
one.
He really killed it.
I know. And this is what's funny is, you know, you see some people like he had a shocking prelims and then come through and take the gold. It can all happen like that in diving. That's diving, right?
Absolutely, totally. It shows his mental strength from being an Olympic medalist. He really switched that on today.
Well, there you have it. We've got another final to get through, ladies and gentlemen. So, Chris, I'm going to have to send you up to the commentary box. You're going to join Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the women's 10-meter. See you in a bit.
John, you make it sound like a pennant. I've got to send you up there. I know you don't want to go, but he's coming anyway. Thank you for the time being, John, and Chris will be with me shortly. So the women's platform final is up next. We have 9 going in this, by the way. I think we saw the 8 earlier on, but we have got 9. So the lineup will be Shanice Lobb of Plymouth Diving to start, Emily Martin of Southampton Diving second, Tina May McGarry, City of Sheffield, Gemma MacArthur Edinburgh, Ruby Boa of City of Leeds Diving Club, Tanya Watson of Southampton, Robin Birch, Eden Cheng. What a great finish it was from her in the last couple of dives, because she was out of the picture until that very last couple of dives. She got right in there with her back 3.5, which nobody else is doing. She's the only person in the program who's doing that back 3.5. And then Lois Tolson, who was good all the way through. Very, very consistent program in the prelims this morning. She has a 2.8, but other than that, everything else is 3 and above. Homestand 3.2, Inwood 3.2. So looking forward to her at the back end of the program. But we're ready for the start of the women's platform final. 5 rounds as ever for the women. And looking for not only the established talent to show us what they can do, but the talents of the future as well. Emily Martin, 17 years of age. Tanya Watson, 17. Eden Cheng, of course, who is Lois's synchro partner, 16 years of age. And she had, Chris, just talking about it before you joined me, what a finish she had to her prelim. She was out of the picture, looking like she wasn't going to qualify, and then bang, bang, dives 4 and 5, she nailed.
And that's diving, you know. But having that mental strength to come back from the depths of a horrible place, you know, a horrible mental place. When you're in a competition, it's not going your way, but just fight till the end, and you never know what could happen.
Right, Shanice Lobb up first for Plymouth Diving. 2.8 for her. Start off with Inwood 2.5. A big dive, well, 2 of them actually. Arm stand in round 3 and a back 2.5 in round 5.
That's a nice dive there from Shanice. Wasn't very tight in the pipe, could be tighter there, and a little bit of a loose entry, I'll say, but That's a good start to her competition, 57.4. She gets 7s kind of across the board, a couple of 6.5s in there. It's not a bad start.
57.40 is the total mark. Again, reminder you, top 2, bottom 2 marks disappear. Middle 3 count. Times 2.8 in that case gives us 57.40. Now to Southampton's Emily Martin. Lowest tariff we'll see, 1.9, the reverse dive.
She nails the low tariff dive. You would kind of expect that, but actually, reverse dive to open your competition, that's quite it's quite a stressful thing. She obviously struggles with the reverse action. She used to dive for Southampton. She's now moved to Plymouth to train down here alongside some of the other girls that are very experienced. So good luck to her with that.
The kind of bizarre thing, she did that in synchro, it'd be worth 2. In the individual, it's worth 1.9.
It's even less.
Yes. Tina May McGarry up next for City of Sheffield. The 19-year-old. Her program goes as high as 2.9. She'll start with a 2.6 though. Back 2.5 somersaults with half a twist.
Now, most of the girls in this competition will have another 1 twist to that, so it'll be the back 1.5 somersaults with, sorry, the back 2.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists. She opts for the half twist. Now, she obviously struggles a little bit with twisting. She kind of gets away with it for 5.5. It's not the best start to her competition.
44.2. Shanice with that 57 has got the lead at this stage, but another of the Scottish contingent that we've seen a lot of today. Gemma MacArthur, who a great morning, goes with the back 2.5 with the 1.5 twist to start. Ooh,
and that was a great entry from Gemma. It's nice to see her attacking like that on the dive. In the synchro, she looked like a passenger, to be honest, to her dive. She didn't look like she was attacking them at all. And Gemma there really pulling through with that dive.
Great start. And something in the water in Edinburgh at the moment. Seems to be working very well. Ruby Boa of City of Leeds. 2's right up to the last dive. She's got 3.0 round 2, 3.2 round 5. 19-year-old from Leeds is going to open her account with an inward 2.5 somersaults.
Very nice indeed. You say open her account, she just got paid. That was sick.
Oh, you music people, you've got all your lingo, haven't you? 58.8 for Ruby Burr. And now on to Tanya Watson of Southampton. She hasn't moved, has she? She's
Don't
still
think
Southampton.
so.
No.
Still Southampton.
Because Emily, as you mentioned, moved to Plymouth, but Tanya still with the Southampton programme. 2 big dives in 2 and 3. Not quite so big to start. Easing her way in. She's quite smiley too, Tanya, which is nice to see. Really enjoys her work. And the reverse 2.5 is where she'll start.
Unfortunate there, a little bit flat-footed in the tuck shape. Looked a little bit uncertain of the dive. Kicked out nicely. If she'd have just reached back with her arms and not sunk her head down to her chest, she would have took that down, but splashy with the head down, unfortunately.
Yep, just goes to review it on the screen behind. I tell you, 51.8, she'll be aware of that. Now, Robin Birch is the only person who goes with an arm stand in round 1. The female equivalent of David Budaya, then, I suppose. Arm stand back, double somersault, 1.5 twist. Don't know too many divers in the world who go with an arm stand in round 1.
That shows confidence, shows a bit of guts. Really nicely executed. Nice through the water, a little bit short of vertical. As you can see there, a little bit loose coming off the arm stand, which is why she was again a little bit loose going through the water.
But you're going second place behind Gemma MacArthur off the basis of that 64. Now Eden Cheng will hope for a better start than she had this morning. Took her a while to get going. when she did, she came with a big run for the tape at the end, but doesn't want to put herself in that position again if she can help it. 16-year-old from Crystal Palace, forward 3.5, opening dive.
Really nice dive there. Slightly short of vertical. I love the way that she does her top there and the way she gets into her pike shape. She can squeeze more out of that score, just a little bit more finesse on the finish.
Well, she's already 15 up from where she was this morning. 46 translates to a 61 in the afternoon for Eden Chang. She may be able to put a little bit of pressure on Lois Tolson. Lois is going to show Jack how to do it now. Jack being her boyfriend, of course, Jack Law. It's all right, Jack, I'll show you. That's how you do it. Forward 3.5 for Lois Tolson, also City of Leeds, of course.
Oh, that's really nice from Lois. Definitely the best we've seen so far in this competition. She chops off a little bit on the start. It kind of looks like she hits it in on the board a little bit, but the jump was phenomenal. That 8.5 from Judge 1, I'd have been up there with that. Get excited watching these guys dive. Get nice entries like that, especially with the women's 10 metre. When they get an entry like that, it looks really good.
And off the 3, she gets 66, so she hasn't caught Gemma MacArthur, but Gemma had a higher tariff dive, so you can kind of equate that to being maybe slightly better. Now, Shanice Lobb of Plymouth Diving with forward 3.5, first of her big tariffs. Got 3 in her programme.
That was some attack that she got there on the start, on the run up to the dive. Almost looked a little bit too aggressive. That carried too much speed through the somersault there and carried her over off vertical going into the water.
Well, 6 times 2 and a 6.5. Well, count towards the score, which is 55.5. Emily Martin, forward 2.5. This is into the real stuff now. 1.9 was just for show. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist. She will do round 3 from the 7.5 metre board. She's the only one who's going to use a different board.
And she's opted the twisting dive forwards, which is probably the only one we're going to see today other than Phoebe Banks. But did she make the final? No, Phoebe is not in the final, so we will only see that dive from her. Executed well, a little bit sloppy on the entry.
Tia May McGarry of City of Sheffield, 19 years of age now. Everything around the same tariff, kind of. 2.8, 2.7, 2.9 at the end. 2.8 this one. Inward 2.5. Of course, even more necessary to get distance from the board on the inwards here. Nice distance, please, Tia May.
And it was great distance. She left it slightly short on the end, but she gave herself the opportunity to really put that down. She had a good look at it as she came off of the pike shape, and she had a really good chance of getting 8s on that dive, just slightly short and throwing up a little line of splash above her.
58.8 is her total score. Now, Gemma MacArthur, very impressive this morning. She's got no funding at the moment, so she's one of those who is kind of doing it for the love of the sport. But she will catch the eye of the National Performance Director today if she dives like she did this morning. Forward 3.5 for the 20-year-old from Edinburgh.
This is much more like it from Gemma. I haven't seen her dive for a little while. She dives up in Edinburgh. She's absolutely nailed that front 3.5 pike. We might not see a better one this evening than that. That was really, really clean.
Yeah, she's looking very good indeed. 70.50 compared to that 67.2 she started with. Ruby Bauer of Leeds ends on 3.2. Only other time she gets into the 3s is this one. Forward 3.5. So see what she could replicate or get close to what we just saw from Gemma MacArthur.
It was really good effort, you know. She got that spinning right off of the jump there, nice and tight in the pike shape. She was a little bit sloppy in the way she came out of the dive, and she didn't quite get the entry. As you can see, a lot of splash being thrown up there, but it was a good effort.
58.5 for Ruby. On to Tanya Watson. And her 3.2, back 2.5 with 1.5 twists, taking her time. Wait for the referee, that's why.
Not enough aggression there on the start. She took off the board a little bit, holding back. She couldn't gather her legs in and really get her hips over to see the water when she came around. And she didn't quite make the dive, unfortunately, this time.
Bit of a shame, because as the entry, as we always say, the judges, the last thing they spot in a dive is the splash, which does tend to affect everything else that goes on before it. If there's a massive plume of water comes out of the pool, then however good the bit up to that stage is, that's the bit they remember. Robin Birch for Dive London.
Is it Batman or is it Robin with the Batman costume there?
Or is it the Joker? Reverse 2.5 somersaults.
Oh, she left that dive just slightly short. Really good start. Nice into the tuck shape. Early opening out. Just didn't reach back enough. Didn't kick sharp enough there on the dive. It was pretty sharp, actually, the kick. She was just early. Oh, she's not going to be happy with that one. That's her lowest degree of difficulty dive in her list as well.
43.4. Eden Cheng. We know she's got a dive that nobody else is doing in this round. The back 3.5, which comes up in round 4. Actually turned her fortunes around earlier today. But this is an inward 3.5 for Eden.
And I'd never actually seen her perform the dive, and that was really exciting. See how she does it this afternoon, later on in their list. It was a nice, accurate jump. I think it was a little bit slow, actually, in the tuck. I think she would have wanted a little bit more speed, which is why she put her head down and she let that kind of cruise over onto her back and shoulders. And that's a little bit disappointing for her, but, you know, she's young. Even though she has the experience of Lois in the synchro, she still has a lot to learn for the individual.
Here's Lois, right on cue. 66 on her opening dive, our 3.0. This is the lowest tariff she goes with, and it's 3.2s all the way after this. This being a reverse 2.5 somersaults.
You know what, lovely dive. I'd love to see Lois put another somersault on this. The way that she does her somersaults from the block in the gym, she could definitely squeeze in a reverse 3.5.
What's going on with the arms there, though, on the way down?
I didn't notice anything with the arms. Maybe she was unequal in the way that she came out for the water, but she hit the water nicely, and it was an okay score for a reverse 2.5. Obviously, it was low because it's low degree of difficulty, but that puts her in good stead. Gemma is still out in front.
Yeah, 137 plays 129. Ruby Boa in third place. Shanice Lobb in fourth, top 4. Everybody's hit 100 so far, which is good. There's Shanice in fourth place. Here's her arm stand. Back double somersault with 1.5 twists. I don't get quite so nervous about arm stands indoors as I do outdoors, to be honest, but still give me the heebie-jeebies a bit. You're basically planting your face on concrete from 30 feet out.
Yeah, it is pretty scary, but she was not fazed by that. She sunk that dive. She took all the water down with her. Look, hardly any splash being thrown up, but unfortunately she did cruise it over and slightly bent her legs during the dive, which marked her down.
But that's a good return. 67.20. I think she'll be happy with that. She'll go and inspect it to make sure. But that's the best return she's had. She's got another 3.2 at the end of her program to come, so So a chance to make up some more room. Emily Martin will go from the 7.5 metre board, the only time it will be used in the final. Not quite ready for the 10 metre board on the back 2.5, which I imagine will be a back 3.5 when she goes to 10.
Yeah, it hopefully will indeed. She lands this one short of vertical. I think that was just an error on where she was in her somersault. The start was fine. Easy dive to make on 7 metre. Even easier on the 10 metre. Glad she didn't do it up there, although where she kicked, that probably would have gone upright on 10 metre.
9th place at the moment for Tia May McGarry on City of Sheffield. Forward 3.5, followed by a reverse 2.5, followed by a back 2.5, and a big dive at the back end of the program. Just go through like Tom Daly does. Not Tom Daly does a forward 3.5 at 2.7, but same kind of preparation.
It's a good dive, it's a low degree of difficulty. Most of the girls will be using that dive piked. And going for the tuck position, you've really got to nail that in order to stay in contention. She goes a little bit loose with her back going through the water, which is why you're seeing some lower scores there.
Now, it would be so nice to see this young lady carry it all the way through, because she started so well. 67.2 opening dive, 70.5 second round. This is her one of 3 3.2s she does. The arm stand back double somersault with 1.5 twist. Exactly the same dive that Shanice Lobb did for a 67.
Let's see if she can hold this together. Now, it was average. She can do it better, but I'm actually really pleased for her because she kicked off of the board with her legs way too fast, and she had almost no control when she went into the twist. So to be able to pull 6.5s and a couple of 7s out of that dive was really, really good effort. She got her hands on the bottom, and she convinced the judges she knew what she was doing, even though she was probably quite out of control.
I'm sure Jenny will not be using this language that I'll be using, but she landed like a sack of spuds on that one. But 62.4 will do it. That's okay. 67, 70, 62. Ruby Bauer of City of Leeds, back 2.5.
Oh, and she's flunked that one onto her face, unfortunately. She jumped backwards on the board, she used her shoulders too, and you see her, even before she hits the water, she knows she has made quite a big error there. She's gone over.
That must be a horrible feeling when you know you can't do anything about it and the water's rushing towards your face.
And everyone's watching you.
Yeah.
Not
well,
a good
that's
feeling.
embarrassing itself, but it's more the pain than the embarrassment, isn't it?
It does hurt from that height.
Tanya Watson up next for Southampton. And an inward 3.5 for her. And again, good preparation. I think waiting for the referee's whistle again.
Good dive there, good start. You can hear Lindsay Fraser shouting in approval. She left it slightly short of vertical, but the top was really good. She finished really high, actually. She finished higher than Eden did on her in with 3.5, which is good to see. Good strength out of the board.
59.2 for Tanya Watson. Now, after a less than immaculate second round dive, Robin Birch has a little bit of work to do to just pick up some slack. 3.2s help if she can do it well. Inward 3.5 somersaults. This is round 3 for Robin Birch of Dive London.
And that wasn't what Robin wanted this evening on that dive. She pulls her legs in to her chest too fast and doesn't rotate fast enough to make an in with 3.5. It's a real shame there. She kicked out with real content, but it was just, there was not enough time to complete the dive.
No, that's why she gets landed with a 38.4, which sadly is going to adversely affect her chances of getting top 3. Certainly in this position, doesn't look like she'll be in contention to win it. Eden Cheng, however, with the back end of the program she's got, still could. Reverse 2.5, this is her lowest tariff dive at 2.8.
Wow, Eden really showing that she is a prospect for the future. And currently, that was an awesome dive. 70 points on the low DD dive. That really, really shows that she wants in to the medals.
Well, she's 24 points behind Gemma MacArthur now, 4 behind Shanice Lobb, and Lewis to go in first place, 8 really, which she can get quite comfortably if she does this right. The arm stand, back double somersaults, 1.5 twists. Seen it from a couple of divers in this round already.
Lois taking her time with the arm stand, showing that she has complete control. And she nails the entry. That's a really, really nice back arm stand. Again, the nicest one that we have seen from our girls here. 78, almost 80 points on a dive that she hasn't actually got a lot of experience on yet. That's really impressive.
Yeah, 8.5 and 8 to all count towards the score, which gives her the biggest score and takes her into the lead by just about 7 points over Gemma MacArthur as we enter round 4. And just again to tease it up for you, Eden Cheng will be going for a dive that nobody else in this competition does. The back 3.5. No to back 2.5, but no back 3.5 apart from hers. Shanice Lobb with a reverse 2.5 somersaults worth 2.8. It's done in the tuck position.
She's a little bit swingy on the start, and that kind of carried on throughout the dive. You can see she kicks out too early. She notices that. She probably sees that red curtain in front of her and panicked, threw her shoulders back and her arms and bent her legs slightly to try and make the dive. And unfortunately, that does not go unnoticed.
I'm sure that curtain was black last year, wasn't it?
It's always been red.
Was it red?
Oh, I recognise it, yeah.
Okay. So remember from our transmission last year, it was black. But we were colourblind for a year. Emily Martin has stepped up from the 7.5 platform where she was before to the 10 for the forward 3.5. She has a big dive to finish the inward 3.5. Ooh.
That's better from Emily. Not quite coming together on the finish, but the start of the dive was nice. She just kind of rolled it in and looked like she wasn't very confident about where she was to finish the dive off and take it home there.
52.50 for her. Now, TMA McGarry of Sheffield in 6th place going into round 4. And this will be a reverse 2.5 somersaults. Going up to a big dive, which is the last one of the program, the back 2.5.
Well, she made us wait for it, and then she delivered the goods. If you're going to make everyone wait that long, and you're going to think about it like that,
well,
you better do it nice.
Yeah, the conversation I was having earlier on about that is very often, so many times you've seen it, I've seen it so many times, where people just delay a bit too long and think, no, and it doesn't quite work for them because they're overthinking the dive, and the dive doesn't come right. But we probably had, of the examples of that this morning, maybe 20% worked.
Yeah.
There is that kind of balancing act between going too quick and just hanging on for a bit too long, but worked for her. Now Gemma.
Really nice dive from Gemma. Not as sharp as some of her other dives, but the back 2.5 pike is a risky dive to choose because it's quite swingy from the 10-meter board. It's hard to get right, but she's got it right here today. Not the best one she's ever done, but really solid.
Listen to this succession of marks. 67, 70, 67, 65.
Very consistent. Yes. Very consistent, and consistency is key. It's keeping herself up at the top of the list.
Ruby Bauer now for City of Leeds. Third round, unfortunately, is done for her chances, you'd think, but reverse 2.5 is up next.
It's not a bad dive considering how badly she dropped her back 2.5 pike. She's came back with some strength, but unfortunately she left that one a little bit short of vertical.
Next up, Tanya Watson, the 17-year-old from Southampton. So reverse out the way, the back and the inwards. So we're back to another back. It's the one without the twist this time, the back 2.5.
Thought that was going to be too slow from the takeoff. It wasn't. It was actually perfect speed. She came round on that. Wasn't quite confident enough on the finish when she reached through with her arms to greet the water. It was all a bit of a surprise, and she threw up quite a lot of splash. But the dive was well performed in the air.
Everything in the 50s so far for Tanya Watson in 4 rounds. Robin Birch would have given her quite a good exchange on that. She could have had it. She's had a 43 and a 38 in her program so far. Penultimate dive will be the forward 3.5.
Now, Robin, I think last Nationals, she hit her feet on the bottom of the platform on the front 3.5 pike, and I think it looked like maybe she was a little bit nervous about coming close and cutting the dive off, so she jumped quite far forward. Now, when you do some things like that in competition, you don't forget them. It's difficult to rebuild on them.
It's in the old memory bank, isn't it?
It is. It's banked in there, and sometimes it comes back to haunt you. At least she didn't make the same mistake. She made a different one, and she can improve on that next time.
Now, this is a world-class dive we're about to see. She did it in a world-class fashion this morning. Now, worth a lot of points because it's higher than anybody else achieves or even attempts. 3.3, back 3.5 somersaults for Eden Cheng. Just outside the top 3 at the moment, but this will take her straight into it if she gets it right.
Eden waiting a lot longer on the board than her other dives, which would suggest that she was a little bit nervous standing up there in the final, maybe feeling a little bit vulnerable on the board. Didn't carry that same confidence, and that really showed in the dive. Unfortunately, a little bit too slow off the top. She can do that dive really well. She demonstrated this morning, but she hasn't shown that in the final.
Yeah, she got 70 this morning. 42 tonight. So, door very much ajar for our leader, Lois Tolson. In a range of 3.2s. Armstand back double we just had. Back 2.5 with 1.5 twists to come. Inward 3.5 here.
That's not as good as Lois can do it. It's not as good as she's performed it on some of the world circuits. It's a really good dive for her. She leaves that a little bit short. She goes into second place behind Gemma MacArthur there, which is a shame for her because she really can get a lot higher score than that.
Well, they both end on a 3.2. Gemma ends on an inward 3.5.
It's not all over yet.
Lois on a back 2.5. But it looks like those two are the only two can win it. Shanice Lobb's got too much to make up. She's got 3.2 as well, though. She will do the same dive that Lois does, the back 2.5 with 1.5 twists, but she can at least lay down her marker here. Third place for Shanice. Again, she's a good succession to that big score on the arm stand. Well, 3.2. So what kind of score she can set the others.
Oh, she went so far back on the push there. You can see her direction of travel was just get off the board now and into the twist. It looked like she was panicking when she took off, but she really nailed the entry, which is why she actually turned out all right from the dive. But if she'd have put that upright instead of going back, that could have been a really high scoring dive.
Well, I think that's probably top 3 secured. How far up the top 3 she'll be, we'll find out in the next 5 minutes or so. Emily Martin of Southampton, or was, she's now at Plymouth. Joined the Plymouth club last month. Inward 3.5, worth 3.2. Currently in 7th, but this has got a high tariff, so she can make up a bit of ground here.
Oh, that's just not come together there for Emily. She just didn't get into a tuck shape. You can see it's really loose, and then she doesn't really commit on the come out there and just kind of hits the water in a tuck shape. Back to the drawing board with the coaches and into her training on a method to get that spinning a bit faster.
Well, now she's a fully fledged Plymouth diver. She'll have a lot more time to perfect that. Tia May McGarry for Sheffield. Leaves her best dive, or certainly her highest tariff dive anyway, till last. It's not cold, don't worry. She's rubbing her hands together, but certainly it's not cold in here. Might be a bit colder up there, though.
Although it's really warm for us here. As a diver, sometimes it can get quite breezy in here, which is surprising because it is boiling up here.
Back 2.5 for Tia May McGarry to finish.
That's a really neat
yes.
dive. The way that she did that looks really world class in her pike shape. The way she came out, she pulled it slightly over, but I'm not sure what the 5 is about. I might have missed something there, but all the other judges agreed 7.5, 7, which was a nice dive there. Very professional.
No, I like that. Kind of a swallow dive entry into the pool. That looked quite aesthetically nice. Now here's our leader. She'll be feeling the breath of Lois Tolson down her neck, though. This is only 7 points between them.
Let's see if Gemma can hold it together mentally, because that's what it is now. It's a mental game.
Well, I don't want to put the mouth on it, but I've got to say that 67, 70, 67, 65. A succession of marks. Get up towards the 70, and she may well have got the win here.
And she is not giving it to Lois. She is
isn't,
taking it for herself. Awesome dive from Gemma McCarthy. Great tuck shape. Look at the aggressiveness as she kicks out into the water there. Really nice dive. She's got herself 62 points. She's definitely done it better, but under that pressure, 3.27. Let's see how Lois responds. She's got a back twist to finish on, and that is a really strong dive for Lois. But Gemma putting up a really good fight there.
What did Lois get this morning? Check that. She got 67, which will just about be enough, won't it? Or no, it won't. Yeah, no. It's very tight. Ruby Bow finishes off with a back 2.5 with 1.5 twist, same dive.
Not a bad dive, slow into the pike shape off of the twist, which is why she came onto the water a little bit low. I know this is something Ruby struggles with in training, but she is striving to perfect that. hard transition between twisting and getting into the somersault. Sometimes it's really hard to pull into that pike shape to be able to finish that dive off.
Tanya Watson up next for Southampton. That's her big dives in rounds 2 and 3. Just goes to the other extreme with her tariff here. 2.7 is the lowest she will perform. That's because in the tuck position of the 2.7 forward 3.5s. Just down the pike position, it's worth 3.
Now forward 3.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Everyone else will be using it in the pike position. You've got to execute it a little bit better than that to stay with the field. She's lost her middle a little bit, which I saw her do earlier on another dive. Maybe she's got a little bit of a weakness in the back at the moment, carrying an injury. Well, yeah, maybe. She needs to hold tight through that water to take the water down with her.
So Robin Birch will be out of contention to win it. Pretty much out of contention for a top 3 place as well. But she's got a big tariff dive, the biggest bar 1 in the program. Back 2.5 somersaults with 1.5 twists.
She does this great. Really nice jump out of the board. Perfect into the twist. Really nice technique into the pike. She nails the entry. Nice dive there. 72 points.
It's her best dive by quite some way, actually. 72. 64 was the best before, and she had a couple of 40s and a 30 in the middle of there. So the beginning and the end was good. The middle part didn't quite work for her. Now, Eden Cheng. She can't win it. She can get second, but she'll need 10. So I don't think that's realistic. We haven't seen any 9s yet, let alone 10s. Same dive we'll see from Lois in a few moments. Back 2.5, 1.5 twists.
Eden just a little bit slow there. She goes too steep. Her twist is lovely, but as you can see, she doesn't get her hips over enough, getting into the pike shape to get that on her head. She's not done as well from the morning session. She's not carried that through to her final, which is unfortunate for her, but at least she knows what improvements to make on.
Right, I make it. My calculations are right. The lowest needs 70 to make it the win. On the back 2.5, 1.5 twist. She's more than capable of doing it, but the pressure has been ramped up by Gemma MacArthur. So 70 gets it.
She can get 70 on the dive. That should do it. That should do it. Really nice dive. Great top. Nice into the pike. She gets her hands a little bit splashy. Let's see what the judges think. It's 68. 327.75 is Gemma. 327.4 is Lois. And that is how cruel this sport can be sometimes. That is so close. So close. The same points.
Unbelievable. And look at Gemma's reaction to that.
0.35.
Don't think she could believe it, but that's the story. 0.35 between 1 and 2. That is how tight it was. But you've got to say, Gemma MacArthur, 67, 70, 67, 65, 62. Her lowest mark actually in the last round, but always in the 60s all the way through there. And Lois had a 51 in that mix. She had a upper 50s. Lois would have won this title, but as it is, that's somebody who's come from left field.
You can see there on the feed, Gemma looking really happy, almost not believing that she's now National Cup champion. But she deserved it. She carried herself really well. Like you said, Bob, she was so consistent through the event. Lois can get a higher score, but Lois today didn't show the same consistency as Gemma. Gemma really deserves that today. Lois will be competing at the World Series and other events this year. Hopefully she can show some of her better dives and show that she has more ammo in the bank.
Well, I'll make the point again. It was made in our commentary early on. Gemma MacArthur is not on funding. She is doing this for fun, in effect. She's
Well,
not
there you
getting any
go.
money.
You know, let's see. She should be on funding now. She is national champion, national cup champion. She definitely deserves a bit of cash, I'd say. Would you, Bob?
I certainly do. Let's hear from her. She's downstairs with John.
There you have it. What an exciting conclusion to the women's 10-meter platform final. Gemma, congratulations.
Thank you.
How was that for you?
Very nerve-wracking, but I felt like I was in a good place while competing, so that's what counts.
I mean, you had strong dives sort of all the way through. Are you happy with how it all went? Did it come together how you'd planned in your head?
Yeah, I'm really pleased because I put in a few new dives. So I put in my arm stand dive, which I haven't done for long. So it was just to get that in a competition, and I'm so pleased that everything went well with it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this a few times this weekend, you know, coming down to that last dive. Obviously, Noah's up there. You're down here. What's going through your head at that moment?
I was just thinking, just stay calm. You've done this loads in training. It's just another dive. Just relax.
And I mean, you're starting to get experience sort of around the scene. You've had a couple of Grand Prix medals. Went down to the Commonwealth Games last year. What was that like?
That was an amazing experience because that was like my first big international multi-sport event. So I've never done anything like that. So it was just great to get the experience and be with those kind of high-level performance people.
Yeah, I mean, it came out of 2018 Commonwealth Games. Had a gold medal here, can't go wrong with that. Looking forward at the 2019 season, what are your hopes and what are you aspiring towards there?
So I'd quite like to qualify for maybe Europeans, and which is I think later on, and a few of the Grand Prix, and just to get more experience and keep working on my list.
Fabulous. Well, look, one last question before you go. How are you going to celebrate? Your weekend's done.
Probably just go home, probably relax with the parents. It's been a long weekend.
Get some sleep.
Yeah.
Dan said the same thing. Everyone's exhausted. Look, congratulations. You are now one of our best of British. So I'm going to, when I figure, there we go. Smile for me. Going to get you to sign this and get it up on the wall. There we go. That go off. There we go. I figured it out. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen, MacArthur. I can get my mouth around that, I'm stuttering. Don't go anywhere though, we're going to be back in about 10 minutes time. We've got two more finals, the men's 10-meter synchro and the women's 3-meter springboard synchro. So lots of exciting stuff to come. Grab yourselves a drink and we'll see you in a bit.